Okay. Previously, we have talked about different kind of functions, non-return type function without parameters, and return type function without parameter, with one parameter, with two parameter, and a return type function having for loop inside it. So we talked about different things here. Here we are going to talk about a very nice technique on how we are going to put all these things not to be in front of main, not to be written here, to be written after the main. So it's a very good and nice technique. At that time, the main will be the first function. So suppose that I have, let's say, 50 functions. So I should scroll down to the last part and then find the main. And after that, I should, let's say, I should go at the end, I can find the main. What I'm doing right now, what this technique is doing is making the main function the first function. And it will allow the compiler to see the other functions as well. So in order to apply Control X and Control V. In order to apply such thing, we should use a function prototype. And this is the main. Yes. Function prototype. Right now, I'm unable to call any of the functions. Let's say I'm going to call farewell function, and I'm closing it. And when I run the program, there's an error. Why is that? Because farewell identifier not found. Because any function, if it wasn't defined before the main, inside the main, it cannot read it. It cannot see it. So how we can make this farewell be written, declared after the main, but also be seen inside the main. So there is a technique. This technique is what? You only copy the name and the type of the function with the bracket and put it before the main and semicolon. So this way I'm able to see the farewell right now. So I have void, type of the function is void, name of the function is farewell, and the brackets. In order to, let's first of all try it, and if we see if there is an error. No, there's no error. But if I want to run welcome message right now, and I will do like this, you see, farewell, there's no problem with farewell, but welcome message, still there's a problem. So I should do like create a prototype for this as well. So these are known as prototype. So this is the first function. There's no body, only the type of the function, the name of the function with the parameter list. If I want to get this one, integer cube, I should take it like this. And it is not necessary even to write the a, just write integer. There is a function after the main, the name is cube, and the parameter is integer inside it. So it is basically saying something like this. Here as well, I have the float. So I'll put float. We don't need to write this, and we don't need to write this as well. Depends on you, either you are writing or not, but it has to float. And then when I'm initializing it, I should write float A and float B. Okay, so here only a declaration of the name and the parameter list of the function, which are known as prototype. I'm only writing the prototype, the compiler prototype, a basic type, a basic example or example mean. Prototype means that. I mean, unfinished sample. Prototype means something like this. So these are prototypes, and there's average. It says a function name is average, and there are two float inside it. If I'm writing v and g, no problem. This one still not connected to this. Only it tells the compiler there is a function after or behind the main. It has two float. It doesn't care about having v or g or a and b. Here is change something different. Here is something different. No problem with that. Or even I said, if I write something like this, even there's no problem. I will just write the type. I'm saying it has two type of parameters. Both of them are float. And I'm going to put this one as well, just here. And I'm not going to delete this one, just as a sample. And this one as well, I'm going to put it here. And there is a semicolon after it. But in the normal, when I'm declaring the body of the function, I shouldn't write semicolon here. There is an error here. The name, like when I'm declaring the body and everything, I shouldn't have semicolon. But when I write the prototype, I should write a semicolon behind it. Otherwise, there is a mistake. I hope this clear and well understood. So this way, my main function is the first function, which is declared, and all the other functions are written after. So I'm able, when I saw this, I see farewell stuff and stuff, everything, and I'll say, okay, so we have these functions all behind the main, okay? Among the programmers, this way is more recommended, like having a prototype and then creating different kind of functions uh, after. Even first of all, you may write what your program need. You will create all the prototype, and after that, you will do the let's say the declaration and creating the body of the functions after that. So it's better. It's more near to the plan when you are planning to do let's say to create a program. Just write the function prototypes and think about that. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then in the body you can create each of them. So this will be like a prototype of each of the functions we have behind. Okay. Now I'm going to delete both. Now there is something known as pass by value and pass by reference. Let's say pass by value. We will declare it, nothing to, let's say, to doubt about. I have an integer, number 1 equals to 5, and I have an integer, number 2 equals to 10. I have two numbers, okay? I'm going to see out them. I will say number 1, and then number 2, end line. Okay, so before that, I'm going to write number 1, space number 1, then number 2 space number 2. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm simply outing or printing them to the outside, to the screen. And after that, I'm going to create a function. So let me create integer because both of them are integers, and let's say my integer's name is swap. Okay, and then it gets two numbers, integer a and integer b. Swap means replace each other or take A into the place of B and B to the place of A. Okay? Okay. And I'm going to call this function inside here. And what parameters I'm going to give? I'm going to give number 1 and number 2. And after that, I'm going to print out the number 1 and number 2 if their values have been changed or not changed. So that's my aim. So what I am doing by swap, swap means change the places. If A is 5, B is 6, after that, B, let's say A becomes 6, B becomes 5, okay? So I'm going to create my function here, and I will say, okay, I have how I can put the number of A into B and the number of B into A. So I can say integer, let's say a temporary place. I'm going to create a temporary place. So I'll write place. I'm creating another place just to give to take one of them there equals to A. Right now I put the value of A into the place, and I'm going to put the value of B into the A and the value of place into the B. So place is the same as A, and then A becomes B, and then B becomes A, which is place. Okay. Before that, I'm going to run. Let us run it. Yeah. I will run number 1, and then A, and number 2 is B. Okay. And here I will write inside swap or before swap before swap inside swap function. Okay, and I'm going to just put it at the end of the function as well. I'm going to change this one into void. I don't need any return thing. Okay, so yeah, I don't need any return. So I'm going to just swap it. And here cannot overload anything by return type alone. Okay, I'm not going to change. I'm going to change this one into void as well. Okay, because I don't return something specific. There's not oranges. It's like swapping two numbers. I don't need the result of, let's say, give me the summation of something or multiplication of something. And after the swap, after swap, inside swap function, number 1, number 2. I hope it is clear. So this number 1, number 2. Let's say here main. So this is inside the main function, number 1, number 2. And this is inside the main function, main after, number 1, number 2, main before. Number 1, number 2. So I have inside the main, before sending the variables into the swap, I have number 1, number 2. Then sending the variable into the swap. Then before swapping, after swapping, and then after the function swap have been called. Control F5, let's run our programs. Main before this, the first function, this one, so it is 5 and 10. Number 1 is 5, number 2 is 10. Before swap, inside swap function, number 1 is 5, number 2 is 10. So still here, number 1 is 5, number 2 is 10. After swap, inside swap function, number 1 is 10, number 2 is 5. So it is swapped. Their values have been swapped. Number 1 becomes 10, number 2 becomes 5. and main after number 1 is 5 and number 2 is 10. Why is that? You see, even after swapping, I swapped them, and number 1 should be 5, should be 10 right now. But when it comes to the main, number 1 gets the original value, not the value which has been changed inside the swap function. This is known as change by value. So what this means is that only inside the main function, these two things, only the values will be sent into the function, into here, into the swap. So this is the value being sent, and the value is changed. And when it comes again here, we have the variables. Their values haven't been swapped. So this is only value have been sent. Value have been sent into the function. So this one is known as pass by value. We are only sending the value. What do I mean by sending value? It means that let's say I have a plate of rice. So pass by value means that someone is coming and says that please give me your cup and I'll give something different into the cup. What I do is I will give only the rice. I have the plate inside myself. Okay? So when it goes, I have the plate, I have everything in still in my side. And when it goes do let's say anything, and it cannot do anything different into my plate. It cannot change or it cannot place any other kind of materials into my plate because I have the plate. I only send the value. Okay, I hope it is clear. It's not a very meaningful example, but still it is good because I'm not giving a plate to the guy and the guy is not able to put something else into my variable. So my variable number 1 and number 2 are still having the old values. These are 5 and 10. And what are sent into the function are 5, 10, not variable 1 and variable 2, not number 1 and number 2. Only the values have been sent into the swap function. Okay? Okay. So, okay, we understand that, but how we can create a function, how we can swap them, in fact, how we can create a function to swap two numbers. So this subject comes to like this. Let me copy all these things and do it by like this. So this one is known by like reference, pass by reference. Reference means the address of the variable. So when the guy comes in and says, give me your plate to put something different into your plate, I will directly give the plate. I'm going to send the address of the variable, and here when the address of the variable comes here, whatever is changed here, what value is given, whatever swapping is happening, is in fact happening to the main memory I have. It is directly applied. So how we can do this? It's by, let's say, number 1 and number 2. I'm going to copy this as well. So this one is swap, and this one I'm going to make it by double P. Okay, so this one previous swap, and I'm going to create, I'm going to create the prototype as well. This is swap by double P. Okay, so swap by double P is in fact doing the real swapping. Okay, I'm going to copy this, Ctrl+C, and comment this out. And yes, and these are not commented because I have number 1 and number 2 still use it in here. But what is changing in the swap is this. Still, these two swap are the same. But in variable one, I'm going to put an and sign before the parameters. So this means that any variable coming here, in fact, it is not the value. It is the variable itself is coming here. It is the plate is coming here. So whatever I'm changing here will be directly applied to the address of the variable, and it will be saved in the memory. I mean, there is no way I can reverse back if I don't have any other function. So this being applied, okay? And that's it. Let me just put an and sign here as well. And that's everything. So this and sign means the address of and that variable which is being given. And the swap double P, it is this variable, the address of this variable will go, not the value of this variable. The address in the memory will go. So here there's no change. And then the value and the variables are changing. And then when I come back, everything have been changing. When I control F5, print it, look at this. The first time main before number one is 5, number 2 is 10. Before swap, inside swap double P function, number 1 is still 5, number 2 is 10. After swap, inside swap function, number 1 is 10 and number 2 is 5. After that, we are coming back to the main, but still number 1 is 10 and number 2 is 5. So we were able, in fact, to change the value of the variable. So whenever after that time I see out the value number 1, the variable number 1, I will have which value? You can pause the video. Which value? Of course, not this value. This value which have been changed using that swap function. Okay? Okay, I hope it is clear. I think it is very nice thing. When I learned that, it was very nice. Like, it's a very joyous thing. Okay, very nice. Very good. Okay, let's delete something. These are like, we made it very crowd. I'm going to delete this one as well. And this one. And okay, this much amount of function I have. And I want to just take them away. Okay. Let's see one more thing. You see, I have integer a here, and I can, if I want to have another a variable here, I cannot call, let's say a. Let's say a equals to 5. I cannot call it because a is undefined. We said these are different, let's say, things. This is a normal house, and this is another house. Each house is having different kind of things. So let's say my neighbor's son is not my son. That's why I cannot call it. I cannot give any value to it. So I can have declare it as an integer, but this is my son is not, if my son's name is Muhammad and my neighbor's son is Muhammad, this doesn't mean that my son is my neighbor's son. So we have different son, but my son's name Muhammad and his son's name is Muhammad as well. Okay, so we should think about this, and this one is known as local variable. Local variable means that these variables are only belonging to that function, that specific function. So inside that function, it can be used anywhere. But outside of that function, totally you cannot use it. If you remember, we said that when we are writing for loop, integer I, and we said I smaller than 5, and I said we can see out the I normally without any problem. But if I want to write see out I after the for loop, I'm unable to do this. Why? Because this I is belonging only to the for loop. Whenever the parenthesis is finished, is closed, this I will die. So this is a local variable for this for loop. But if I have, that's why I cannot use this I, because it is being initialized and use it only inside the for loop, and it should be like this. But if I want another variable which should be used among, every for loops inside that main, I should say what? I should say integer a equals to, let's say, 1. And then inside the for loop, I simply can say a without any problem, because this is a well-known guy. Okay, this is inside the main. It's like this house are having two statements. This one is one statement, this one is another statement. So the for loop knows that there is a. It's something well known, a well known people, let's say, well known person, and that's no that's but still a local variable inside the main. And what if I want a variable to be seen in all the functions I have? So let's say I want a variable to be seen here. I could be call it, let's say, an integer. The name is let's say star, and that number could be printed here directly, and all the other functions be able to see that value. So if I wanted to do this, the same procedure as this. Look, I took the a out of for loop, and it was seen just between the parentheses of main. But if I want the value to be seen by all the functions, I simply say integer star equals to 5. Okay, so right now I'm totally able to call that function, that value, inside what? Inside the uh, inside the main. You see, this is that one, and this star is able to be seen um, among all the functions I have declared in the behind of the, let's say, after the main. So I'm able to see here, let's say, see out here, and I will write star. So everyone knows star. Okay, it becomes like a name. That's star. Okay, so this star will be seen by all the functions inside my whole program. Why is that? Because it is known as global. Global. It is like something known. It's like a country. It is well-known person, a singer, let's say. It's a star. It shouldn't be, it's not only famous inside one house or one place. It is known by all the places, we can say, just to understand. Okay, so this one is known as global variable. Global variables are any kind of variable that are not written inside any function, that are out of all the functions, and they can be seen by all the functions. So this is known as global variable, and this one is known as local variable. Okay, I have a global variable star. Okay, and let me just comment this. I have integer a equals to 1, and I have C out star. If I run my program as you're expecting, the output is 5, because I only outputted, or I only printed the star, and the star is a global variable. The value is 5. So I only, okay, you can see value is 5. Okay, but what if I wanted to override this value? I can override that value. I can say star equals to 6. I'm putting this one after this, and I'm going to copy this as well and paste it. So here the star will be this one. Here the star is 6, so this one overrides that one, and then this will be that one. Okay, it's like there's a singer outside, the name is, let's say, Ahmed, and we have a very famous singer inside our country, still the name is Ahmed. So whenever we are talking about Ahmed, we are talking about our Ahmed. So after having our Ahmed, we should always, when we are talking about Ahmed, we mean our Ahmed. So it is always this one overrides the global one, because this one is nearest to the after statement. So if I run it, I will have 5 and 6. But look at this integer famous. Doesn't need to talk to more exaggerate on it. Okay, so that's everything. So whenever I have a global variable and I changed it, let's say uh, I overwrite it, so I'm able to put my value over it. Okay, you see, we have tried this one. I'm saying integer star equals to 6, but still there is integer star. But I'm writing my integer star equals to 6. Still, it is accepting it without any error, because it says that, okay, there is an integer star outside, but you are totally free to have your integer star. But this star will override this star. Please pay attention to that. It's only giving me this. If I don't write this integer even, the same result. I can also write the integer as well. So that's everything about local variable and global variable. And that's we have talked about also pass by value and pass by reference. So that's everything about these subjects. Okay. There is one more subject which is important to talk about. Let's talk about that. It's very easy. And there is one or two more subjects you may study it if you like. You can learn it, and it's nice subjects. And we can talk about these subjects in the live sessions as well. Right now, we have talked about everything. Most probably not everything, but most of the things. But we didn't talk about arrays. We have arrays. I want to send a list of variables into a function. How I can do this? So we are able to send a list of variables into a function. We don't have any problem, because we said functions are doing this, so they should be able to accept a list of variables as well. So I will say integer getting list, getting array maybe. So I will give the name like not getting, get array. Okay, and it's a function, and its prototype is it's getting an array, and the type of the variable, the type of the array is an integer. Okay, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it just right after behind the main, and I will say get an array integer array. Okay, here let's say my array. Okay, my camel case. Okay. Uh, this is, you may see this, this is not an array. It's only a name changing. So how we can say it's an array? Well, in fact, it's not an array right now, but we should make it an array. And if you want to make this one an array, we can put an asterisk like this and an A, or any kind of value or nothing here in the prototype. But in here, I should write an asterisk, which means that this is an array, either having like this or like this. There's no problem. It's mostly written like this. No, I mean, depends on you. In both cases, because it is true and there's no problem with that. Okay? Okay, very nice. Okay. Let me write it like this, because I'm saying it's an array and it is an integer and then asterisk on array. So I have an array right now, and I can have a for loop. An integer I equals to 0, I equals smaller than. So what's the length of the array? Well, it's always a good thing when you are having a function for an array to send the array and the size as well. Okay, so I will put another thing just behind it. I'm saying it is an array and it is an integer. Okay, it's an array and integer. And here we can also, we said we can write the name, let's say array, ARR, and integer A. So any kind of thing, or integer size, there's no problem. Or write the array directly from here and here to be the same. Nothing is different. I mean, is different. I mean, if you are writing it, not writing it, or changing, having different names, no problem. The important thing is here and inside the main. The prototype is, what's important is that there should be two integers. One of them is an array, the other one is a normal integer. Okay, very nice. So I have the size right now. I will simply put the size directly here. So I am able to send my array with the size of the array. So this is a very good thing. So I'm able to, let's say, to do anything I wanted here. Let's say I'm doing the summation. How I can do the summation? I will write integer result or integer sum equals to 0, and I will say sum plus equals to I, and that's it. I'm going to return the sum. I'm sending back the summation of all the elements of the array into the main. So I'll delete this, and I will have an array right now, integer array number, which is composed of 50 elements. And okay, and I have integer constant size, which is equals to 50, and I will put the size here. Okay, but I didn't initialize it, so how I can put the value? Okay, so basically I will do the initialization here as well. I have the size and I have the array, the address of the array. So I'm basically, I can say create another for loop just right here, and I'll say integer I equals to 0, I smaller than size. And what's my array's name? My array at I is equal to I plus 1. So even I initialized the array outside, and I did the summation, and outside what I do is only I'm going to see out the result of get array of, oops, get array of what are the parameters? The parameters are array number and size. Okay, so that's everything. So this array number is the array, and what's the size of the array? It is 50, and this is the size. Okay, okay, and this array will be here, and then it will be initialized here, and then it will be uh, added. All the elements will be added to sum, and I will get the sum back here, and I will say, let's say, summation of all array elements is this. Okay, so control F5, and summation of all elements is 1, 2, 2, 5. Isn't it very nice thing? Like we are saying, we are only have the array, and we are creating a function, and this function is going to do everything for me, and I'm going to come back with the result. Let's make this one 5 elements, and let's see, instead of writing like this, I'm going to say cout, okay, and initialize it here. Please enter the I plus 1 value of the array, and I'm going to put an end line. So I'm doing, let's say I'm initializing the array not only outside but using cin array, my array at I index, and control F5. So when I run it, you see, please enter the first value of the array, 23, second value, 44, 22, 11, and let's say 43. Summation of all the elements is 10. There's a problem here. Okay, there should be a problem here. Let's see what's the problem. So we are inserting all the elements into the array, and what we are doing is basically, where's the array? We are not counting the array. I should say sum plus equals to my array I. Sorry for that. So we were not counting, we were not adding all the elements of the array. In fact, we were doing like only putting the numbers of I into the sum. That's why there was a mistake. Let's run my program again. Oh my God. 23, 34, 45, and 12, 11. Summation is 125. So this time there is no way any mistake here. I think 45, yeah, there is no mistake. 12, 11 becomes 23, 23 becomes 46, then 46 plus 45, 91, and then 125. Okay, very nice example. And it was well done. You see, I only have the name of the array, and I did all the other job outside of the main function. And what comes to the main, what comes only the result of the get array function. Okay, I hope it is clear. It's a very nice subject. You should practice well on this subject in order to overcome it. Have a nice time.